What are you trying to say? Oh, the stream is live.
But while we're here, I thought it would be appropriate. We are tomorrow announcing and giving all of the Kennedy files. So people have been waiting for decades for this. And I've instructed my people that are responsible, lots of different people put together by Tulsi Gabbard. And that's going to be released tomorrow. We have a tremendous amount of paper. You've got a lot of reading. I don't believe we're going to redact anything. I said, just don't redact. You can't redact. But we're going to be releasing the JFK files, and that would be tomorrow. Do you have anything else to add to that, Carolyn? So that's a big announcement. They've been waiting for that for decades. Then I said during the campaign I'd do it, and I'm a man of my word. So tomorrow you have the JFK files. What time will they be released?
3 o'clock.
Tomorrow afternoon. Okay.
Have you seen what's in the files?
I've heard about them.
Was there,
It's going to be very interesting.
was there an executive summary supplied to you, Mr. President?
No, I'm not doing summaries. You'll write your own summaries. It's many pages. Is it 80,000 pages? Approximately 80,000 pages. So it's a lot of stuff. And you'll make your own determination.
All right. And he did. We're running. Everything is crazy this week. That actually came out on, what was it, Monday. And then Tuesday, we are doing a show and saying, oh, geez, we don't see the stream. We don't see the files anywhere. I'm double speaking because for some reason, this stream is not going to locals. So anybody who's on locals that doesn't see this, StreamYard is broken. So I don't know what to do about that.
Dude, what else is not broken in this era?
I don't know.
Everything is broken. We're just going to wing it out of our garage here. Cell phone. Hunley's got his own camera situation next door. Yep.
And I've got my own camera situation. Mark has his own camera situation, which means he's using his phone. We are, we're using the other end of Mark's purple cup. That's an old reference for those who don't know. In a spring,
I haven't heard that
on the internet,
bro.
But it is interesting times. Interesting times. Okay, so while we're doing the show on Tuesday, we are waiting for the documents to come out. When we were on locals, all of a sudden they actually did put up a lot of documents. Now, that took me by surprise. I think it took you by surprise a little bit too. I thought that they had just dumped it at the archivist and didn't know that they were actually going to have them online that day or any of them. And they did have 30,000 online right then. A few hours later, there was another 30,000 pages. It was like 1,000 documents and 30,000 pages. And then I think last night, 16,000 more pages were put up. So as of right now, I think you've dug through well over 700.
Probably 750, 800 pages. Okay. I mean, I can scan them because I don't have to read them all. I could see quickly what it's about, and move on as quickly as possible. I mean, it's kind of like they have made it intentionally or unintentionally the most difficult process ever devised in the 21st century, because there's no subject, there's no search bar, there's no search engine. It's just click, read, click, read, click, read, click, read. There's not even groupings, it's always been this way. So it's not like they did anything different. It's always been this way for decades. So it's nothing new. I'm kind of used to it. But you can find groupings of subject matters despite the RIF number. some of them are in the same area consecutively. I mean, roughly the area of the subject. So you can kind of figure that's where you are for a long time based on repeated documents on that particular subject area.
Okay. Okay.
But it's going to take months, as I keep saying to people, in this era of instant gratification and AI and Grok and everything else. Maybe Eric can explain how long that would take if it was fed into the beast. But right now, it's click, read, click, read, click, read. On the National Archives website. But again, I'm not complaining that it's always been this way.
Well, yeah, things are actually going to be better than they are at the moment, but you're still stuck with where you are at the moment. Now, as far as AI goes, I know Encryptus is working on an AI right now. He actually had been scraping the archives for about a month and a half before these dropped. And I know he's scraping now. However, I don't know, have you heard of the term GIGO? GIGO. That's garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, right.
One of the big problems that we are facing is the documents can be really hard to read. And when you're using OCR, which is, computer reading of the letters to pull it in, it's not going to be super accurate all the time. So it's going to pull in a lot of garbage words and characters and things like that, or misinterpret. So even getting massive things there, you might only get pieces in there, but as long as you have the document reference, there might be enough that in a search pattern, you can pull in and extrapolate connections and then just look at the original documents. Still, you have to look at the original documents.
Yeah, I think they were ahead of their time because, as I was saying this morning on Tim Pool, they would intentionally photocopy important documents repeatedly to blur them when they were ordered to turn them over to investigative bodies or a FOIA requests. They would use a photocopying machine to copy a document that was important. And in fact, the blurred documents are usually the most important, Eric.
Yeah, I guess that's a good shortcut, right?
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean, it was low tech, but that's what they did, Eric.
You know what, though? I'm going to point that out to him and see if we can get the AI to flag every document that's blurry and then kind of have it as a counter registrar. So churn through really quickly and then say, okay.
I guarantee you will be, just from my own experience, the most important docs there.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah, and maybe they can outline the letters somehow, Eric. I mean, the letters are there. If there is some device that can just outline the letters, forming a border on the letters, that would be incredibly helpful.
Everything would be definitely helpful. And he is working on, a tool. He's actually trying to sell it to use better and better OCR to fix and extrapolate the errors. But again, these documents are important and it's historical. So what I worry about is that AI can make decisions for people that may not be the correct decision.
Oh, yeah. I'm really reluctant to do it. I mean, I'm just going to keep doing it the way I've always done it. Again, sure. I don't know what I'm looking for, but when I see it, I'll know it. There's certain areas. I was talking to Eric. We were on Tim Pool this morning, and I was talking about the fact that it's like pornography, like Justice Black. I don't know what it is, but I know when I see it. It's kind of that way with the Kennedy documents. You could drive yourself crazy looking for something you don't know is there, and it may not be there because you don't know if it's there. So you got to read them all.
Yeah, I guess so. And you don't, you know what you're looking for. Somebody like me who doesn't know, I'm clueless. And then there's also the problem, like you had mentioned, the redactions, partial redactions. So It's the same document's been released 5 times or 4 times or however many times.
Yep.
And I think it's funny because I've seen a lot of that on X, for example, like these smoking gun documents. Oh my God.
Right.
And they're from 2017.
30, some of them 50 years ago. Some of them are from 1977 from the House Assassination Committee, released back in the day. So 77, that's 50 years.
Yeah, 100%. Somebody here, looks like Spinner Pete actually saw our Tim Pool appearance because he said he's hoping that our appearance will get us a little bit out of the small room.
That was a great explanation by Tim.
It really was, and I think
That was
it matches
brilliant.
exactly what we go through right now. Well, I mean,
Well,
whatever
they're doing
you know,
it to him. They're doing it to Tim Pool.
yeah, but you know what I was thinking? Can we all get together and can our small room be the size of Tim's small room? Because
Well,
that's an upgrade from ours is a closet, okay? This is a small room. So if we could go from a closet to a small room, I'm still going to
well,
be
I
over
think
the moon.
he was talking ideologically and
I
content,
know that.
not
I know.
exactly subscriber numbers and stuff like that.
Well, however, it is. I'm just joking. Anyway, he's 100% right. Our numbers are super consistent all the time, and it just
That's indicative
doesn't-
of the
Yep.
tiny room, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the numbers don't change because they've boxed you into a little room. If you look at the episode, Tim explains it in pretty good layman's terms, even because I'm a layman and I understood it.
100%. And Tim does know YouTube.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
well.
Oh, no.
Well, far
Dude,
more
this
than-
guy knows everything. This guy knows everything. But getting back to the Kennedy stuff, it's going to take months. I know people are going to put out documents and they're obsessed with certain things like it's who could get this first. It's not really how it works. You know, I mean, there's phony documents in there. There's documents that are just articles that are covered by the CIA, like they do a book report on articles. And those articles are in there because it mentions them. It doesn't mean the article is true. It's really citing an article that mentions anything with the CIA. That becomes a document because they review it internally. It doesn't mean they wrote it. Many times it is an Operation Mockingbird journalist who did write it, but that's not necessarily so. I mean, the Gary Underhill thing that they're all crowing about, the fact of the matter is it was written in the 70s by the far, far left magazine Ramparts as an article. And everybody's saying this is a release by the CIA. The article's been out since 77 when it was a magazine called Ramparts about Gary Underhill.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, because I looked it up, and I was like, oh, you know, Jim DiEugenio wrote about that in multiple books. It's on Spartacus Educational. There's a whole article, and I just looked at it. I was like, oh, well, there's that. Oh, look,
Yeah.
there's footnotes. All
Yeah.
these sources. Okay, so there's nothing new here. I shared that. But then another guy comes along, and he's acting like it's important, and he's kind of hedging the bait. He's like,
clickbait. It's their clickbait, Eric. Think about it.
but-
Everybody who's reading that, who doesn't know anything, is going to know that Big Lake Dog Boy, or whatever the guy's name is, has discovered something. They don't know what I just told you and what you're reiterating. They have no idea. So what does he get? Oh my God, this guy, he's the greatest detective on earth. He just discovered a document. They don't know.
Yeah, but this guy's Jefferson Morley.
Well, I said repeatedly that guy worked at the Washington Post for many years. Let's see here.
Yeah. And you shared this with me earlier. It looks like, well, look at that. He's going to be testifying with Rep. Luna. We
first
didn't say
guest.
anything there.
He's the first deep state guest.
Isn't that nice?
I'm sure Michael Schellenberg will be second, even though he's not linked to the JFK stuff. You know, it's funny because Morley's whale, as you called it, is this guy, George Joannides, who ran JM Wave in Miami. And most of the documents that I've seen in the days that I've been doing this are about the Cubans. It's about Bay of Pigs. It's about all the interaction in Florida with Cubans and things of that nature. And there's tons and tons of that stuff in the documents in general about the Bay of Pigs. Because it involved the CIA, it was a lot of stuff going on at the time. And, you know, there's a lot of people involved. And JM Wave was the CIA operation out of Miami, run by a guy named George Joannides. Now, George Joannides is selected in retirement to come out and be the CIA interface with the House Assassinations Committee in 1977. And what he was doing was telling the CIA what was going on, withholding documents, steering them the wrong way. Okay, big deal, right? Morley is obsessed with this guy. I don't know why, but he's just obsessed with Joanides, and he was given a medal and this and that, but it's not really earth-shattering. I don't know what more they can come up with. Now, if you want to talk about stuff that's of interest to me, David Atlee Phillips saying in a debate with Mark Lane, which you're going to learn about on Tuesday, that Lee Harvey Oswald was never in Mexico, undercuts everything Jefferson Morley has written about, because Morley is one of the Oswald in Mexico believers. And I am not. And this may sound like inside baseball in the JFK research community, but I'm not one, and Mark Lane is not one, and many others are not one who believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was in Mexico City. And you say, well, Mark, what difference does it make? The entire framing of the plot is involved in having Oswald in Mexico City, going to the Soviet embassy and the Cuban embassy in Mexico City. Why is that used? Because they go to Earl Warren at the very beginning of the Warren Commission, and they take him aside and they tell him, if this information about Oswald in Mexico City ever comes out, we're going to be looking at World War III and a thermonuclear war with the Soviets. We don't want you to ever mention this again. And in fact, Earl Warren refuses to have any mention about Oswald in Mexico because he was told by the CIA not to investigate it. Now, why don't they want him to investigate it? Because he was never there. The photograph is another guy. The audio tape is an imposter. They send it to Hoover. Hoover plays it for LBJ. But in that essence, in September 28th to October 3rd is the frame up of Oswald, the backup frame up of Oswald. And that had to go out the window because they switched to the lone nut theory. And that's what was told to by numerous sources, including Hoover, Katzenbach, LBJ, and others, to Earl Warren. You've got your man. We don't want you digging into international conspiracies. And in fact, the CIA didn't want him digging into it because it was a frame up. And the odd thing is that David Atlee Phillips, in a debate years later with Mark Lane at USC, says out loud, and this is David Atlee Phillips, who I believe was the physical mastermind of the assassination. He was the Western chief of the Western Hemisphere of the CIA, based in Mexico City, total alcoholic, got kicked out of 2 private schools. You'll see in the episode we do on Phillips for alcoholism, hated the Kennedys because he trained a lot of the men at the Bay of Pigs who died, had a beef with him, and also had a nom de plume or alias named Maurice Bishop, who may or may not have been in Dallas on November 22nd. The point of the matter is, David Atlee Phillips had means, motive, and opportunity to be the mastermind, physical mastermind, the guy who put the shooters in place. David Atlee Phillips was the guy who invented the frame up of Lee Harvey Oswald in Mexico City. Morley believes, the last time I looked, he's written books about it, that Oswald was indeed in Mexico City running around doing all kinds of things. It undermines the exposure of the CIA in the framing of Lee Harvey Oswald regarding Mexico City. Because if they're sending stuff to J. Edgar Hoover saying Oswald is in Mexico City September 28th, that's 2 months before the assassination, why didn't anybody stop it? If it's him, which it's not. So, of course, nothing happened in that area. But the reality of it is it's a no-win situation for the CIA. If he was in Mexico City, why didn't you stop him? And if he wasn't, why did you say he was? In fact, there's other evidence that he was at the unemployment office in Austin, Texas. He wanted to see John Connolly. There's a woman there who saw him there, and there's reference to Connolly's assistant. He was trying to get his naval discharge fixed up by John Connolly, the governor. So there's a lot of information that he was not in Mexico City. His wife, Marina Oswald, immediately said, my husband was never in Mexico City. Person after person claims he was not in Mexico City, but Jefferson Morley and others believe that he was. And you say to yourself, why? Why do they believe that? What is in that thing for them? You know what I mean? Where are you operating from by saying that this guy was in Mexico City? Where does that get you?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Possibly on
now.
the brink of World War III.
True. Now, is there anything that you found in there? I know you sent me some documents to
Yeah.
check out. Some Howard Hunt stuff.
Yeah, there's a
David Atlee Phillips.
Howard Hunt's entire file is in there, and which I haven't gone through yet, but I printed out the PDF, sent you a copy of it. Also, the entire file on David Atlee Phillips. These are internal employment files, so I'm going to look through those. That'll be fun. They're many pages long. Not necessarily
like
about
300 something.
Yeah, not necessarily about the assassination, but about their actual careers.
Somebody in the chat saying it was kind of confusing when you said it was Cuban shooters who shot Kennedy.
It was Cuban shooters who shot Kennedy. Yeah, I think it was the Novo brothers. The Novo brothers. This is just what the physical rifle shooting was, as I said to Tim Pool this morning, were physically Cubans. Yeah, the Novo brothers were assassins who were Cuban, who actually killed on orders of Orlando they killed Letelier in Washington, D.C. on orders of Pinochet from Chile. They were actually assassins who were caught after they killed Letelier, blowing him up with a pipe bomb and killing a woman journalist or wounding her on orders from Pinochet. And they were Cuban. They were anti-Castro Cubans. And I think they may have been involved in the physics of the shooting. I mean, again, we've got two guys in Chicago who were Cuban, and the Secret Service lets them slip through their fingers, and they arrest Thomas Arthur Valley, who was the Oswald of Chicago. But there were rifles on the bed. What's that?
You're saying Novo as in Novo?
Yeah, Guillermo and Ignacio Novo, Novo, the Novo brothers. Okay. There's another Sample in there too. I think is their mother's maiden name, but they're known as the Novo brothers. Guillermo and Ignacio. So much deep state activity went around this Chilean assassination in the middle of Washington, D.C., killing this guy who was the Bolsonaro of Chile. He was the Orban of Chile. He was the Trump of Chile. He was supposed to replace Pinochet, and he was in when you flee a country, he was in America because he was going to be killed in Chile, and Pinochet ordered the assassination of his rival. It was a huge case at the time. And the State Department was involved in covering it up. A lot of files just on that. It's a big story, but I believe the Novo brothers might have been involved in the Kennedy assassination as physical shooters. As I said before, there were high-powered rifles on the bed in the hotel room in Chicago that the landlady contacted the Secret Service and FBI about. They showed up, the men were gone, and Thomas Arthur Valley was the guy that was arrested. He was the Oswald of Chicago at the time. This is, in early November 1963. So think about it, folks. Kennedy went back to D.C., turned it around. He was supposed to go to the Army Air Force football game in Soldier Field in Chicago. The setup was exactly the same. The physics of the factory house, the hairpin turn coming from the airport to go to the Chicago stadium was the same. Pierre Salinger famously said that he has a cold and canceled his appearance at the game, and he went back to D.C. because they had snuffed out this plot in Chicago, which I think is the subject of Vince's new book.
Yeah, we discussed that with them.
Yeah.
We also covered it in our Bolden episode, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And Bolden is a part of this story as well. The thing about the Secret Service being involved, there was 10 men who were at the cellar that morning, despite what they try to revise. Clint Hill being one of them, drinking White Lightning, type of moonshine because it didn't have a liquor license. These men there were 10 of them who were Secret Service agents. What Abraham Bolden, if you want to look at the episode, said that these Secret Service agents in that era were basically Southern ex-cops who were hard drinking alcoholic types. Separate from this, this is how they rolled. And he said they hated Kennedy's guts. And in fact, his supervisor said to him, there's not one man on this force who would take a bullet for Kennedy. Nobody would dive on his body if he was shot. And in fact, if you look at Kellerman and you look at Greer, there's not one move by them to jump onto the body of JFK when the shots, when, he slows down the limo, he's shot, they turn around, they shot again, they look at him. Meanwhile, Rufus Youngblood, who's in the LBJ car, jumped on LBJ's body and did it by the textbook. Rufus Youngblood did the textbook move when dealing with, immediately hearing the shots, he pounced on top of LBJ and covered his body with him. Now, both Kellerman and Greer, who were trained to respond to gunfire, both said to the Warren Commission they thought it was firecrackers. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's absurd. Absolutely absurd. I mean, the Secret Service is in on this on every freaking level, and they're kind of like a private police force for whoever controls them. And in this case, it was LBJ via James Rowley, who he owned. So, I mean, you got to take a look at that, and also, how much effort they put into covering it up. What were the powers of the Secret Service? Why were they fighting almost a gunfight down at Six Flags in Arlington over control of Marguerite Oswald and Marina Oswald physically? The FBI said, we're in charge here. And the Secret Service says, no, we are. And it literally almost came to a gunfight in the outside of the hallway of the motel, as the Secret Service said, we're in charge. It's absurd.
Yeah, because why would you be in charge of somebody? Because they're not protectorates. That's your job, is to be a protector, not an investigator. The FBI is the investigators. So there's no possible reason to do that. They're not in any position.
Because LBJ did not control J. Edgar Hoover. He controlled James Rowley. And he used and abused the Secret Service. It was the Secret Service that went to the Dallas news media, grabbing all of the film. They went to the radio, grabbed all the audio. They went to the Dallas Morning News, changed the editorial. All Secret Service doing this. I mean, the levels of media involvement, the days following the assassination by the Secret Service, are enormously insane. They have no place in any part of the structure of our government to be doing this. It was not the FBI doing this, Eric.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay, well, I just wanted to follow up on that. And by the way, if anybody is here who discovered us from the culture war, please let us know in the chat. We'd love to see, or comment down below. Hopefully a few new people come by, enjoy the show. But I did want to talk about JFK documents, because that a lot of people are into that, and I'm sure we're going to keep doing it.
We'll keep doing it as I find them. But I mean, the Mark Lane episode on Tuesday is going to be really impressive, I think, because of the information that I've uncovered about Mark Lane. May end up being 2 parts. We'll see how it rolls out.
I just heard something earlier today that I said, wait, what? So,
sometimes I leak out stuff to Hunley before the show as a teaser. It's like a teaser. And I go, hey, Eric, did you know blah, 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 blah? He goes, what?
And this is, by the way, after my doing some homework on Mark Lane ahead of time. So I already had a couple mouth-dropping moments about Mark Lane that they're going to shock you. Just trust me. They are going to shock you.
The thing about Mark Lane is he's one of the OGs. He might be the original OG. I mean, he comes up with a phrase called the magic bullet. Let me put it that way. That's from Mark Lane.
Yeah. Well, here's the beauty of Mark Lane. All that is cool, but some of the craziest, most interesting parts about him happened a decade later. Or a decade and a half later,
or even before. I mean, we'll get into it on Tuesday, but I don't want to. I don't want to give away the baby.
I'm not going to say who it is, or what it is.
No, but I mean, if you look at this document, which is great, you talk about documents. This is one that was released by the CIA which is about him, about the creation of the conspiracy theory and how to deal with it through Operation Mockingbird, and his book, Rush to Judgment. This document right here, which is about 25 pages long, including articles. I'll just tell you this one. This is from the CIA, from the psychiatric department. How concerned? No, actually,
Was that? Wait, hold on. Was that be Patricia? What's her nose? Writing that?
It could be. No, it could be Ruth Payne's sister,
Right.
at Langley, who was a CIA psychiatrist. Our concern, number one, from the day of President Kennedy's assassination, there has been speculation about the responsibility for his murder, although this was stemmed for a time by the Warren Commission report, which appeared at the end of September 1964. Various writers have now had time to scan the commission's published report and documents for new pretexts for questioning, and there has been a new wave of books and articles criticizing the commission's findings. In most cases, the critics have speculated as to the existence of some kind of conspiracy, and often they have implied that the commission itself was involved. Presumably, as a result of the increasing challenge to the Warren Commission's report, a public opinion poll recently indicated that 46% of the American public did not think that Oswald acted alone. That'll go up to 87, by the way. That's how good they did their job. It'll go to 85, but I think by the late 90s. While more than half of those polled thought the commission had left some questions unresolved, doubtless polls abroad would show similar or possibly more adverse results, which is true. The European polls were completely off the radar. But in this document, it talks about how to destroy Mark Lane and how to answer the questions raised. It goes over every original author of JFK research. It goes one by one of the original books and how the media, meaning their Operation Mockingbird media, can attack the veracity of Rush to Judgment and the other books on TV, on talk shows and editorials and articles, feature articles, or additional books that they're quite happy to fund. Posner and Bugliosi in particular. The Bugliosi book might have more egregious lies and mistakes than any book ever written in the nonfiction area of book publishing. That's how bad the Reclaiming Parkland is. But intentionally.
Hold on. His is Reclaiming History. His book was so bad that Jim DiEugenio wrote Reclaiming Parkland to counter the
read the DiEugenio version, because he breaks it down bit by bit of Bugliosi how to be intentional. I mean, some of these are just outright defamation lies against Mark Lane. I don't know why Mark Lane didn't sue him, because he, is really defamed by Bugliosi in this book. But nevertheless, they send out their Operation Mockingbird people, and one of the people they send out is William F. Buckley. And nobody knew at the time that he was CIA, and he has Mark Lane on to debate him on firing line. So he's doing his job, to Mark Lane.
Now, that would be William Buckley, who is best friends with H.L. Hunt, right?
He was the godfather to the children of E. Howard Hunt. That's William F. Buckley.
Okay. I got my Hunts confused, but yes.
Yeah. Amazing
stuff. All right. Well, I am definitely looking forward to that. And by the way, I just realized that Tom O'Neill might have used DiEugenio's principle to write Chaos, because Chaos is essentially a reply to Helter Skelter with a bunch of other stuff thrown in.
Yeah.
But he wrote it as kind of a counterpoint to, here's how Helter Skelter goes, here's what I discovered, and it sounds very similar to what
you could see why it took 20 years. You can see why it took 20 years. This is a mishmash of a book that's chock full of facts and information, but as a book, it seems to be 2 or 3 books in one, and it may have been 2 or 3 books, and it may have been one. It seems to go in different directions. The entire Bugliosi thing should be a separate book, Eric. You know what I mean? Like, may have been designed to be a separate book. People think, or it's thought that he was writing the book for 20 years. That's not necessarily true. He did bring in a researcher at the end who helped him write it, who is a fairly well-credentialed writer. And this may have been 2 different book projects at different times that he smushed together.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, no, I just thought that was interesting. And then we saw what happened with Chaos now and Netflix.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Errol Morris, maybe the original
He might be the original Alec Gibney
Gibney.
deep state documentarian, Errol Morris. I mean, I'm sure there were guys before him that I'm not aware of, but big. You see, they have to have a big name. They have to have awards. Otherwise, they have no gravitas. You know what I mean? It has to be the biggest, greatest documentarian of the, or filmmaker for that matter, dramatic filmmaker. Otherwise, nobody's going to watch it. They're not going to waste their time, with some low-level operative to make a little art film. They go for big fish.
Yeah, and that started all the way back when they bought the rights to Animal Farm, right?
Yeah, yeah. From
All right.
Orwell's, by the way, British.
Yeah, Orwell is British, but and by the, if folks you want to check that out, that's CIA in Hollywood. We did a trilogy on that for anybody who's new. But let's go ahead and jump to the news. Some of these, a lot of this we're going to cover on Tuesday, so we're kind of behind. Everything got thrown off.
I did send you some new ones, which you want to look at that are much more fresh. I don't know if what you're looking at there, but
well, let's jump to the way I have, and I'll dig in that as well and see what we have. But some of these we haven't had a chance to discuss. I think we need to discuss, like we've not talked about Justice Roberts rebuking Trump for the whole judge thing.
Eric, how weird is this?
It's really weird, and it gets weirder all the time because it turns out that the judge that Roberts is protecting, if you will,
Boasberg, I think Boasberg.
Right, I guess Roberts actually had put this guy on the FISA court.
Oh boy!
So this is literally a buddy. I mean, this is like a John Roberts.
I think you might be muted there, Eric. Are you muted or? Oh, I can't. Can you hear me? Everyone can see. You can hear me. I can't hear you right this second. So, you want to mute yourself and unmute yourself? That's weird. I can hear you. I can hear me. I can't hear you.
I changed to my air.
Oh, you're back. You're back.
All right. Well, I just changed to my AirPods. Hopefully, it doesn't sound
okay. Okay, you're back.
Okay. Good. All right. I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, no, I think it's very troubling.
No, you were saying that he's part of some secret society also. Besides the FISA court, I think he's part of something else. And then he's got his daughter, of course. It's always the daughter who's got some NGO about illegal aliens. The daughter's involved in this thing, getting money from USAID, Eric. You can't
they're always involved.
It's insane.
Oh my God. No kidding.
I mean, anyway, it's crazy. Look, there's got to be, this is just building and building, like we were saying with Tim Pool today. Something's got to give here because we're going to be living in a country that's run by judges, which is what they want. As I said, Eugene Muret, who was Oswald's cousin, ended up being in charge of the entire judiciary, rebuilding it in Bosnia after the war, sent there by USAID. That's why this stuff with Kennedy and Oswald has relevance. It's the same people who, not the same exact people, the same deep state operations happened then as are happening now.
Yes, 100%. And the judiciary is very scary because if you're going to control, as a matter of fact, it's smart. If you're going to seize permanent control over anything,
judges,
that one's the best. Nobody's elected when it comes to the federal judges, and they're in there for life. So if you can infiltrate it and control it,
You could run every single aspect of the country. That's why the
Yeah.
Bolsonaro judge revealed, but took the mask off of this entire program worldwide. He began to get involved with Twitter. Bolsonaro, I think, has fled the country and now lives, outside of Brazil, maybe here. I don't know where he is, but that judge exposed their judiciary world domination program to the entire world. We're just witnessing it here ourselves. This is beyond lawfare. This is a different level of lawfare. This is the judiciary saying that we're running the entire operation. We will determine the foreign policy over the president. We will determine what countries get U.S. aid. We will determine what happens domestically. This is where we are. This is a coup d'etat by the judiciary now. They've obviously gone through the congressional one, which had the January 6th committee, which had 2 impeachments. That failed. Now this is their last step on their playbook. They have nothing else, but it's a big one. It's a big one. And it's control of judges who they can then get to do their bidding. And they are doing their bidding. And I think they feel confident enough that if it goes to the Supreme Court, someone like Roberts would make sure that they rule in their favor. I think that's why Trump is trying to trap them into going to
exactly. I think this is sorry. I don't even know if it's Trump. I think this is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's fingers are all over this, in my opinion. And if you look at everything that Trump is pushing down to that flight, it's international waters. What you going to do about it? And then, who's on there? MS-13 and Trinidad Aqua. Oh yeah, turn those planes around, send them home, bring them back. And trans. Put those trans back in with the women. We want that now. These are 80, 20, 70, 30 public issues, and they're piling up. The Doge, all this. Oh, wait, he can't look at the IRS records? What? He can't do this, he can't do that. And every time a judge does this and stamps it, it's getting headlines everywhere. And more of the public, I think, is having to look at this and go, what the F is going on here? What have we seen here? Why is this going on? And if he piles up, and the Trump people are saying we should impeach judges, we should do this and that. Trump's not doing anything. He's just sitting there, letting it sit out there. And I think he's letting it pile up and fester to where the public may get to the point where they demand him to do an Andrew Jackson. Not just accept it, but literally say, you have to stop these judges. And either way, that works because the Supreme Court has to see the writing on the wall saying, oh shit, this is like the 30s, 40s when they're going to pack the court, when FDA and the public was turning on us. We've got to back down on this, and we've got to tamp it down, or we're going to lose everything.
Or either that, or they rule 5-4 on these things against Trump, and that's it. We're done. I mean, then what do? You just go full Andrew Jackson at that point, and they're going to go full king. He's not a king propaganda. So there's a lot of levels happening here. If he goes to the Supreme Court and loses to the Supreme Court and then does it anyway, they're going to say he's a dictator. They win on that issue, having the moral high ground by saying he's a dictator. That would be a victory for them. If he wins 5-4 the Supreme Court on these issues, it's obviously a victory for him, which is what Eric's implying as to where he's going. But the Supreme Court cannot be depended upon.
No, I know they can't be, but I think that's why he has to do all these edge issues. So he's not putting up any issues that there's any controversy. Notice you don't see abortion on here.
No.
You don't see any issues that are squirrely. No 50-50. These are all extremely popular.
Boy, they must be sweating in that Supreme Court, those fat bastards. You know what I mean? They must be sweating bullets going, holy shit, we got to get off our fat asses and rule on this stuff here, Bob. You know, I mean, look at it from their point of view. They wake up every day and they go, how can I do absolutely fucking nothing? This is a great job as long as I get to do nothing. What do you mean the phone? Who's on the phone? Oh, someone's on the phone. I got to do something. This is not good. How do we get rid of this? Oh, it's building up. Oh, this is really not good, Eric. I mean, if they rule on these things, That's the one thing they want to avoid is rule. They'll rule on corporate crap all day long. You know, SEC all day. What do I care? I'm playing golf. Let me get the ruling in. But when you get into societal, social issues, voting, deportations, immigration, they are just running underneath their tables, hiding in holy terror.
You know what I think they're doing? I think they have their clerks on the phone speed dialing appellate judges saying, hey,
Get
Bob,
this off of the
take
pass.
spike that son of a bitch, get it down there.
Yeah.
So I don't
yeah.
have to see it. Spike it so I don't have to see it. And that would be the nightmare, because then if they spike it and they can say, well, we're not going to look at it. Oh, we're not going to look at it. That to me would be their typical cop out, is to get a higher court just under them to get rid of it before it gets to them. And I bet they're trying to do that right now. That's just
I
my
wouldn't
theory.
be surprised at all. I mean, that's Robert's job, is to keep things away. I think his job for him is to keep contentious issues away from the court. He's completely concerned about the image of the court, as many journalists have reported.
Yep.
How do you control the image of the court? By having to avoid massively historic contentious issues like birthright citizenship, Eric. If he could find an appellate court to deal with that, he'd be more than happy to get rid of that from his ballywick.
Yeah, his favorite two words in the entire language. Trump's favorite word is tariffs. Robert's favorite words are stare decisis. He loves stare decisis. You'll never hear anybody say it more, which is, oh, they've always done it this way. That's essentially stare decisis, previous decisions, blah, 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 blah. He never wants to make a decision or make a move, because
the question you have to ask the
dust.
audience is, are you prepared as an audience? And you can comment down below or in the comment section. Are you prepared for Trump to go full Andrew Jackson? And that's the question of our era right now. That is the number one question. You realize that the judges are ruling against the president of the United States. They've taken over control of the executive branch. Does Trump, or do you support Trump going full Andrew Jackson? What we mean by that, of course, is ignoring the rulings of the court, saying you've got your job, I've got mine, or you made a ruling, good luck enforcing it. Any way you want to spin it. Would you, Republicans, conservatives, support Trump going full on Andrew Jackson? I know you're squirming. I know this is a tough one for you people who are law and order and love the courts. But what do you do when they have a conspiracy of judges who are activist judges against you, now in the playbook, running every single play against Trump to block every move he makes? How do you live with that other than Andrew Jackson? So, feel free to comment down below. The answer, is up to you as to what you're willing to live with in terms of putting Trump's policies that you ostensibly voted for into action. Are you willing to allow the Supreme Court to shoot down every single one of these Trump plans? It's really comes down to that, Eric.
Yeah, those who were asking, there's a few people asking about it. Essentially, the Supreme Court ruled against Andrew Jackson dealing with the Cherokee, some Indian decision. And Andrew Jackson said, okay, you made your decision. Now you go enforce it.
Right.
Because they cannot enforce anything themselves. And he exposed what they are, because they are not an enforcement mechanism. They're a judicial mechanism. And
I'll give you a better one. Brown versus the Board of Education. 1954, Eisenhower had to send troops in to enforce a Supreme Court ruling that was ignored by everyone in the South. So he was the enforcer. He sent U.S. troops into the South to enforce a ruling by the Supreme Court.
And I'll give you a more recent example. Sleepy Joe ignored the Supreme Court twice on the student loans.
Yeah.
So actually, he already did it, Andrew Jackson. The guy that was just in there.
Nobody criticized him, by the way. Nobody criticized him one bit.
Nobody did at all. No, they're perfectly fine with it. We're very concerned about Trump and justice and constitutional crisis, but mainstream press.
That's what I'm saying.
No worries.
Your competitor despises the system that they are using against you. if you abide by that system that they despise and are using against you to destroy you, what are you supposed to do? You know what I mean, Eric? I mean, what are you supposed to do? They're using a system against you that's rigged by them against
Mhm.
you by putting in 200 activist judges while rhinos were asleep at the switch voting for every single one of these progressive judges during the Biden administration to be appointed, something like 230 of them.
100%. 100%. All right, we got a couple of super chats that came in. Mo Bishop early on said Mike Baker has been playing Mockingbirds on Piers Morgan's show, and there, I guess you never really leave CIA. Oh, okay. Mike Baker, very famously, is Joe Rogan's personal CIA agent. He's been on Joe Rogan, I don't know, a dozen, 2 dozen. I mean, he has kind of a revolving chair, almost like a stand-up comedian on Joe Rogan. So yeah, Mike
Yeah.
Baker, we've long suspected, we've never really followed the guy, but I know Mark doesn't trust anybody who's in the CIA, and I
It's
have
not personal. It's
trouble.
nothing personal. I mean, I, as I've said, I could be wrong about someone, but I don't have the intellectual ability to say who is honest and who is dishonest. So my personal ruling is to rule them all out, just for safety's sake. I'm sure there's some that are good guys. I don't dispute that. My stance is I can't trust or divide or discern which among you professional liars I can trust. So I have to not trust any of you, just so you know what my thinking is on this. I can't figure out if Mike Baker's a good guy or John Carrico is a good guy or any of these ex-CIA guys a good guy. I can't, so I have to get rid of all of them in my world, in my intellectual world.
I agree, and there is the problem too that Marcus, he's been researching, and we're going to go back to JFK files for a second, but it's true. E. Howard Hunt was in the CIA, then fired or quit, and then he's out, he's retired, then he's back in, and he's out.
He's a perfect example, Eric. He has a parallel career as a novelist, legitimate career. I mean, he wrote 50 novels, for Christ's sakes. This was not a hobby. He retires from the CIA. He didn't need the money, goes back in, goes out, goes in, but he's still working for them. Is he on the payroll? No, he's not on the payroll. Big freaking deal. It's the same with these guys. It's the same with Amarillo's Fox. She doesn't have friends inside who have been talking to her during this whole past 10 years. Give me a break. Give me a freaking break.
Yeah, and we see it in the Mockingbird press too. Half of them are coming on CNN and everybody else and doing interviews. So we never know when they're actually in the CIA or not in the CIA, or there's between jobs, or they're working at think tanks. So to me, a think tank is nothing more than a CIA front half the time.
Yeah.
So,
I really can't trust any of them.
100%. Pamela Clifton, who's a regular, saying happy Friday. Thank you, Pamela. And JoJo, $2. Thank you very much. Mr. Mike, really important question. Is Tim Pool's cast brew coffee better than AUS? I can absolutely answer that question.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
I've never tasted it. I don't know anything about it, but I know it's not better. Because I have distinct knowledge that I drink our coffee. And not only that, the other flavor that is being generated for us right now, which we will be putting out a call to try to name it, and whoever comes up with the name is going to get a free bag of it. I just haven't figured out
Maybe
the way
we could
we're going
give
to
the free
collect it.
bag away at the meetup. If they name it, we could bring it to them at the meetup, Eric.
Well,
April 12th. Maybe Tim Pool come to the meetup. I know Viva's coming to the meetup. I know Barnes is coming to the meetup. I know
Barnes is definitely coming.
Barnes is definitely coming to the meetup if he gets out of jail. Now, Barnes has to go to Seattle and face this incredibly brutal communist judge on Friday, which is technically the day before the meetup. So if he's incarcerated, we may have to move the meetup up to Seattle in some sort of a bus caravan to go
Oh, we may be
get
marching
out of jail.
Seattle. The meetup may be the point to the march to save Barnes.
Right, part of the march on Washington, but it's going to be the march on Washington State to free Robert Barnes if he's jailed for contempt on Friday the 12th.
Okay, so hold on. Why don't you tell us what is this meetup thing that you're talking about again?
Oh, it's this thing. That bald-headed guy is getting. I was on Viva's show the other day, and I said about the meetup on Viva's whatever that thing is on Rumble now, the afternoon show.
It's just his show. Yeah.
What's it called?
It's just Viva Fry. It's his show.
Anyway, I said Deadface. I said Viva. We're going to need the award that we gave you last year because I can't replace it in time. He goes, what? I said, you got to bring it so we can give the award to Barnes. I hope your name's not on it. And he leaves and gets the award, comes back, and it says David Fry right in the middle. I go, oh, my God. Is there any way to get it off of there so we can? He goes, I don't know, man. It's really on there pretty hard. And he's like thinking I'm serious about it. And I said, we don't have another award. We got to give that one to Barnes. You're not even an American. And anyway, so I told him I was joking, and he's coming with his kid to the meetup, which will be fun.
But is he bringing the award?
No, he's not going to bring the award.
I'm joking.
He's not going to. We got our own award. But I guess on that squiggle box, Eric says you could put your phone up to it and get
also
tickets.
known as a QR code, folks.
QR, or some people say LGBTQR code. I don't really see that as part of the LGBT community. But nevertheless, the QR code, as Eric calls it, allows you electronically or digitally to buy tickets for the event to honor Barnes, who has, in a Christ-like way, legally died for your legal sins. And this might be the cross he's going to die on up in Seattle on April 12th on that Friday. But hopefully he'll escape down a rope ladder, or like they did with what's his name, with the guru of LSD, Timothy Leary, when the Weather Underground tried to lower a ladder into the prison in San Jose to help him escape from a helicopter. We may have to do that with Barnes if he's incarcerated up in Seattle.
Yeah, but at least we'll have the people gathered, so we will
Right.
have support.
We'll have
on
the
hand,
army. We'll have the Barnes army.
which is very, very important. And by the way, one of the things that will be there, and just this all spinning out of the terrible cast brew question, because we know that that's subpar coffee in comparison. It's perfectly fine coffee if you don't get our coffee. I mean, I understand that. If you're, stuck, you don't have any availability, you happen to be in West Virginia, you're like, I have to have coffee and I don't have America's Untold Supreme Breakfast Blend, no problem. I'm sure that Cask Brew is perfectly fine. I'm sure that the Quartering coffee is perfectly fine coffee. But if you want the best coffee, and this is the current flavor of it, it's our Supreme Breakfast Blend, which is a combination of Mexican Chiapas beans. Mark likes to say Chiapas.
Chiapas. Yeah,
Okay.
Isn't that where the drug cartels operate, out of Chiapas?
Well, exactly. We need proper caffeine. We need cartel caffeine.
This is the coffee of the cartels. Let's put it as bluntly as possible. When you're mixing up
right.
a batch of fentanyl all night, you need this coffee to keep you going up all night, because they don't have the luxury or the ability to do meth to keep doing it, because it'll cloud their judgment. But they do love to use this coffee to keep going, mixing up those giant vats of fentanyl down in Mexico.
That's right. And the other half of the coffee is an Indonesia Sumatra, which is a darker,
Frank Sinatra.
older, crustier blend. So essentially, it's kind of based on us. The younger, fresher flavor of the Chiapas would be me. The older, crustier, or older, darker, smokier flavor of the Indonesian Sumatra would be Mark. Give it a try. We also have a variant coming by because of tariffs. So I will, to be as transparent as possible. Things are, a little sketchy. We've managed to get the bag and we're getting more out, but definitely get some now. And hopefully we'll continue right on and we'll just have two flavors. And And I do recommend, if you can, get 4 bags, you get free shipping, which doesn't sound like a lot. It's like, oh, what, free shipping? Well, I'll tell you what, if you've shipped anything lately, I've shipped a coin and it cost me $15 for a
What?
coin.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it is bonkers. So I mean, unless you have a business account or something, the shipping is just ridiculous. It is
But
ridiculous.
back in the 80s, everybody had like corporate FedEx numbers that were stolen from jobs that you were on, and you could get FedEx for free because somebody would just give you the FedEx number of some place that they used to work at. And now I think you can't get away with that anymore.
I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes me think of the Captain Crunch whistle or whatever with the phones
Yeah.
where they
Well,
figure.
I mean, there was this blue box that you were able to put up to the phone that was a recording of change going down into the into the machine, which allowed
Yeah,
you
you know
to
who was
pull
behind that?
Captain somebody.
Well, the two Steves, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, were
No, there
selling
was
the
another guy,
boxes.
Captain somebody, who invented the box. But yeah, there is something to do with Jobs, I think, too.
Yeah, well, the guy might have invented it, but they manufactured it, if you
Manufacturer.
will, and
Yeah,
produced it and sold it,
yeah,
and they were selling it out of the.
that might have been the West Coast version. I mean, there was maybe there was an East Coast version. I'm not sure, but they seem to. It's in Steal This Book by Abby Hoffman, by the way.
Well, a lot of things. By the way, we have an Abby Hoffman episode on the channel if you want
That's
to check
true.
it out.
It's true.
All right. Let me see. Colonel Lansdale, what are the total number of pages that actually exist? That's a good
Oh, yeah.
question.
I don't
Couple
know.
million?
80,000 was what I heard originally. So maybe it's 100,000.
But that's the document dump now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And there's already been so many that have been released through time. Got to be hundreds of thousands potentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Or millions. I would not be surprised if there are millions. All right, so let's see what other stories do we have? We got you sent me this Daily Mail story about Heathrow Airport and a fire.
Yeah,
No.
it was last night. I saw it on the plane, and by this morning there were 4 articles by the British MI6 blaming Putin for it. It was so
Oh, of
quick.
course.
It was so quick, and I went, "Oh my God, you guys are shameless, shameless."
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's not at the airport; it's in back of the airport, having nothing to do with the airport. But it's got enough electrical signals back there that are damaged that the airport has to be shut down. But the British never miss an opportunity to disparage the Russians. It's really shocking.
And you got to give them credit. They're
Yeah,
consistent.
dude,
It works.
they're
Why change?
unrelenting. They are unrelenting. I mean, Helena, the cinematographer who worked
From
on
Rust,
Rust,
folks. Yeah.
worked for the Daily Mail, and she was hired to do anti-Russian articles way before she was a cinematographer. Helena
Scarily
Hutchins.
enough, those were the safer times for her.
Yeah.
I mean, she was doing stuff like what was it? Sex slaves in the
She did
basement
Russian
in
sex
Russia.
slaves in the basement as a documentary for the British. I mean, it's shameless. It really is. They've got their own mockingbirds too, Eric.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and then what is this? Kennedy Center contractor fired after a bizarre naked monologue.
Well, he also handled children's theater, of course, as you're well aware. So he
Oh, of
exposes
course, that makes
himself.
sense.
Right. He exposes. This is the director of the Kennedy Center yelling F Trump, exposing himself in a video on Instagram as a protest. He was immediately fired, of course. And now he's a hero of the left for doing what he did there, working with children.
Yeah, well, sounds about right. But it's good. I mean, make the left protect these people. It shows how far gone that they are, that they just go right to it. Knee-jerk reaction,
Yeah.
protecting them. Boom. Oh, you can't do that. It's like, Really? What if your kids go there? Oh, my kids are a private school. They can't do that.
Their moral high ground is shrunk to the head of a pin. Let me just repeat that. Their moral high ground has gotten so small, it's literally shrunk, and they're all standing on the head of a pin. That's how small their moral high ground has become, Eric. Because of these 80-20 issues you mentioned.
Yeah, I think that Trump
Keep
is
supporting trans
brilliant.
swimmers. Keep supporting trans swimmers. Alienate every single parent in the country so there are none left, and then wonder why you have to win an election through chicanery or a judicial force, which is what their backup plan is. As Tim was talking about, Tim Poole laid out an entire scenario from a book or a documentary about a futuristic civil war that's not gunplay, but more electoral and digital.
By the way, folks who are chuckling, I acknowledge it. Tim Pool and Civil War are like forever wedded. Tim Pool talks about Civil War more than any other person in the world.
Okay.
He's been saying it now for a decade.
Depends how you define Civil War. I mean, it's obviously not blues and grays and shooting. And I know it's hard for people to detach, but
Right.
there are different types of Civil War going on even today.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying it's almost a running gag, and he's there's valid points there. I mean, in the Civil War, they didn't think, oh, there's going to be shots tomorrow necessarily,
Yeah.
and then there were.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I do want to acknowledge that because I know a lot of people will be laughing about the Civil War reference. Anyway, let me see. Oh, well, isn't that nice? So Trump cut off the funding for Maine.
This was last night, I think.
Now
the
they're
morning.
playing along.
Yeah.
They're playing nicely.
Yep.
They're ignoring their governor. She looks so sweet, though. Isn't that a pretty girl? She's just sitting there. She's so happy.
It took 2 weeks, Eric.
Which is longer than I expected. I was expecting all the people to be like, "What? Why did you say that? What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Well, I guess they had to have a couple of meetings with tea and crumpets and discuss things, and then the money didn't show up that month, and they all panicked and went public today. Probably
Good.
not coming April 1st, and they realized that their goose is cooked.
Yep. Good to see. Goodbye. And didn't Columbia get cut off a chunk of money? And who else?
I think it's 60 universities.
60. All right. Well, good. And then we've got the DOE. He just signed that last night.
Yeah, they're going to have to get out by the end of the night tonight. I think they're going to have to leave.
I gave him to the end of the week. That was nice.
Okay.
Hey, okay. By the way, those who are upset and they're saying, "Well, how dare you?" Almost everybody who's getting laid off is getting months of severance pay. They're not getting tossed on the street.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, almost all of us have probably gotten worse treatment and moved out of a job in a much harsher way than these folks are. And it is hard to feel complete sympathy for all.
Well, it's your tax money. Find out who got fired and mail them your own individual contribution. A la carte.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
If you feel so bad, I don't blame you. I mean, find out. I'm sure their names are out there. People have been fired. A lot of them are on TikTok, and find where they are and mail them a check.
No, that's a great idea. It's kind of like all of these professors and everybody else who are crying about the diversity at the universities can resign their position and move out of the way.
That would free up some more space.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic idea. Fantastic idea. All right. Yeah, good point. T. Gaggiotti said they will all start podcasts. I'm sure they will.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them are. Newsom's about to be termed out, and he started his podcast.
Yeah, but his is actually successful. What I love is a lot of these people, they start their podcasts and they go where almost all podcasts go, which is nowhere. And believe me, I've been doing podcasting for a long time.
There's one that's completely collapsed. Do you know who that one is?
Former First Lady?
Michelle Obama's podcast with her basketball coach brother, surprisingly, has completely collapsed. What a shocker. I mean, it had an opening number, because of the interest in the opening. What is this thing? And now it's down to like 3,000 views per episode or something.
And by the way, folks, this means that her staff hates her guts, because with a podcast, you actually don't know how many people are viewing. Like on YouTube or Rumble, for example, or even on locals, there's a number up top. Like right now, there's 4,000 people watching us on YouTube. We can't hide and tell you, oh, look, we're doing this, we're doing that. No, it's literally on the screen. You can see how many people are watching. With a podcast, it is very murky because none of the numbers are actually reported in a legitimate way. And it's very difficult to track. And then you have all the problems like, where are they listening? Are they listening to it on Apple Podcasts? Are they listening on Spotify? Are they listening on Podbean? Are they listening on Overcast? So all these apps that are out there, you don't know. So some of the larger podcasts, they may have a very small YouTube presence, but be very successful podcasts. Or there may be other podcasts that have like superstars and they get 100 downloads an episode or fewer. But you don't know that because you don't have an ability to actually see their numbers. And so the fact that you even know, or it's coming out that, okay, Alan, AG Main 5082, there's over 1,000 people on Rumble as well. So there's 5,000. The Rumble doesn't show up on my screen. So thank you, Chad. Anyway, the fact that her number's leaking out means that the staff people hate her guts and they're leaking it, or the producers are trying to negotiate.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right, what else do you have in the hopper there, so we can burn through these stories that are building up?
All right, well, I'm going through new. I decided, you know what, I'm just going backwards. So Corey Bush,
okay,
her husband,
explain
wire fraud.
this to me. This is weird.
I mean,
it's not weird. Corrupt? It's not weird that the guy's a grifter, but she gave him the money. Why is he under indictment, but not her? She's the source of the money. It's her husband, for Christ's sakes. I don't understand how they delineated and avoided. Does she have immunity because of Congress, Eric?
Somewhat, but she's out anyway.
No, but the crimes happened while she was a congresswoman.
Well, I know that. So I'm just saying, though, don't rule out charges for her in the future.
I know, but that would be going backwards when she was a congresswoman.
That's true. And I don't know how it worked out. I mean, I guess technically she may be protected by the Pelosi rule. Yeah. Which means you can get rich because you're in Congress.
Well,
isn't that how it works?
But she was she's still funneling money to her husband's security firm, protecting her from the evildoers. So he's still feeding at the double trough, so to speak. But I don't understand why the fervor to get him and not her. In other words, it's not a separate crime. She's involved with him getting the money. She has to be like an unindicted co-conspirator.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense.
By the way, the reason I asked Tim Pool who the guys were that were arrested for the Tesla terrorist bombings is because I want to put names and faces and indictments on paper. I want this Bundy to give me something substantial. She says she's going to prosecute the 3 she arrested. Good. Who are they? What are their names? What are the indictments? Where's the perp walk? Where is the arrest? I'm so over this media blitz of fighting justice by this justice fighter.
Yes. Well, Mark, she's busy. She's got a Fox.
I know she's very busy.
Fox
but right. I mean, she's been on Fox 35 times, and this has nothing to do with the JFK files or anything. But what is her job? I don't really get it. Is she just the face and spokesperson of the Department of Justice?
Seemingly.
Yeah.
Seemingly. I don't know what the deal is with that, but
the reason I want to see them in a perp walk is to stop the bombings and to stop the torching of the Tesla dealerships. Because if they see their comrades in handcuffs, That has a powerful effect. That's why NYPD and others, including Alan and Al, know the effectiveness of a perp walk. It's for media purposes. She doesn't even have a name or an arrest. I don't know whether to
No,
believe her or not.
I don't personally, but I want to. I'm not laughing at chat, folks, not yet. Um, I wanted to share this. We brought it up on Tim Pool earlier, and I actually surprised you with this info. But one of our hosts, actually a moderator in here, had pointed out to me, this is the Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim mentioned him, or whatever that is.
Right. Well, this is the.
Is
the
that
name
one of the
is,
three, Eric?
This is Adam Matthew Lansky.
Oh, you mentioned that.
And it is very possible this is the great grandson / daughter of Meyer Lansky.
Why would you say that?
Well, they were doing the work of, the path of the name and the family tree and everything else. It just seemed possible. I don't know
Because
if
he
it's
has the
been
same
confirmed.
name?
Same name, but if you would check the genealogy and the pattern and the birth years and different names and whatnot, and the commonality of the name hasn't
Okay.
been ruled out. I'm saying it's not conclusive, but it's possible.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll wait to see the final DNA test on that one. But is
But
this
anyway,
one of the ones who were arrested, Eric?
yes, this is the one who was arrested in February.
Okay, so is that who one of the three she's referring to?
I'm assuming so. Look at that. Isn't that cute?
I don't care about that. What was the person charged with? Are there charges listed?
Hold on. Trying to find. They've arrested unlawful possession of an unregistered firearm.
Okay, that's a
That's
misdemeanor.
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Let me see. Now, I don't know if there were further charges. This is an older one because I was trying to find the.
Right. I don't think that's the three because it has to be the post executive order of Trump making it domestic terrorism to blow up Tesla car dealerships. And she said that she arrested three, yet we don't know who they are. We haven't seen their names. We don't see their faces. Traditionally, we see the information.
Well, yeah, we want a perp walk.
I'm not talking about doxing them. I'm talking about who the hell was arrested.
No. Yeah. No. I agree.
What is there?
And
Is there some underground dungeon that they've been brought to? I mean,
it says 3 people face federal charges.
right.
He
said face up to 20 years imprisonment.
I don't know what the charges are yet.
Neither do I. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I do not know.
We got to stay on this woman, people. I'm telling you, she's either incompetent or deep state, but something's wrong. There's got to be a way to keep pressure on her. And I don't wish her ill will. I mean, I just want her to do this job the way it's supposed to be done, and not, be doing hair and nail salon beauty appearances on Fox News twice a week.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like her to prove us wrong.
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
Set us straight. Okay, cool. 100%. No, I don't know. I don't know what the charges are going to be. Now, it could be that they're still trying to decide how to charge them because this is typically a state crime. So they haven't. How do you get it to a federal level? Now, if you could say that it's a terrorism attack, and by the way, I can see it as being terrorism because actually everyone in the comments or the chat, let me know. If you own a Tesla, do you feel threatened driving around simply because your choice of a vehicle? Because that's terrorism, right? Is to put people in fear of being able to just
but it's
live
two
life.
levels. It's also the torching of businesses, like we're in the deep South and the Klan is riding on horseback, torching black businesses. I mean, that's the thing that comes to my mind. The side targeting of the cars seems to be an individual in the moment kind of a thing. That's a separate thing. There were 6 rallies in 6 major cities today, in Arizona and Charlottesville, I think, and 5 other cities of dealerships targeted for destruction today. On Twitter. The list was out there, and the people descended in those cities on the Tesla dealerships. This is an organized, violent movement to blow up businesses. That's terrorism. The individual other things are really glorified vandalism, Eric. If somebody's
this is a good definition. It fits it. Terrorism is to influence the government policy by violence or threat of violence. That's
okay. I'm not
literally what's happening. The guy who's running Doge, they're attacking that business. So he's doing a government program. I
don't think anybody disputes that. The question is, what is the enforcement? How long? Today was a big day. Today was a big day of terrorism, organized, flyers, internet, multiple cities, targeting the dealerships, addresses, where to go, gasoline, inflammable. I mean, at some point, you got to send people to the dealerships to arrest them in the act of doing it. What is so complicated here? They're telling you where they're going. This is police work 101. Al, if you can help me on this, or Alan, please, what am I missing here, you two cops?
No,
I mean, they're telling you they're going someplace to blow up that place. They're telling everyone, yet no law enforcement is there to intervene.
Not only that, hold on, they're having video sessions.
Of course.
They've identified the people. I think Laura Loomer's actually done some work on this one.
Yeah, she has.
She's captured politicians and stuff on video discussing and organizing. So it is.
He just want this to build to an incredible crescendo. I mean, I'm sure Musk does not want to have to keep replacing all these cars at dealerships. This is insane.
No, he can't. And insurance will just cut him off because there's a certain point where they're like, no.
I agree. I mean, if you have to send in the National Guard to protect these dealerships, then do that. But I think if you brought in, the intelligence unit to find out, which doesn't take much, you just have to look at Twitter telling you where they're going to be, for Christ's sakes, and then send cops there, undercover cops, to make arrests. I mean, this is like undercover cop work 101.
Actually, I'd like to catch it while they're live, and then you just go, while they're live, you hear in the background, what's that? And then all of a sudden they're going, well, they're dragged off the screen. That would be nice.
You bring in one guy who's videotaping it, and then you move in for the arrest, and you have it on video. You have the arrest on video. I mean, it makes it so this is not complicated. How many weeks in a row is this going to keep going, Eric?
I don't know, because I've never seen anybody so emboldened that they just do it. And I feel like, well, they've been.
Well, you have. You were just too young. It's the Weather Underground. That's what I'm getting at with this whole thing. This is the Weather
Underground. At least we're underground.
They were not at the beginning. That was later. They were the weathermen. They were not underground to begin with. That's a complete misnomer. They were above ground doing what they were doing until they issued warrants for their arrest, put them on the 10 most wanted list of the FBI, which Kash Patel has to do. And then they fled underground and continued the bombings underground. But the original weathermen bombings, thousands of them, were done quite above ground. They issued communiques. They told the FBI, taunted them, we're going to blow up the Capitol building. We're going to blow up the Pentagon. And they delivered.
Yeah, that's true. All right, there's some Rumble Rants people pointed out, but it's saying, Paul Ross 76, it seems most people on AUS and Viva Barnes hate Tim Pool. What are your thoughts on him? We like him.
I don't know anything about it. He's a brilliant guy. Anyone who could keep up and riff with me at that level, I could talk to that guy all day. I don't know what people's problems are. The guy knows a lot of stuff about a lot of things, and it was a pleasure to talk to him.
Yeah, I don't know. He's really sharp dude.
What?
Yeah, he's a really sharp dude.
He's an incredibly sharp dude. I don't care. I don't know what other people's problems are, but he's a brilliant guy.
Black Dog 542 with a $20 Rumble Rant said, will you please ask Tim Pool to repost your interview? It got cut off both streaming and repost. I would love to see the rest of it. I'll try to reach out to his people, but I don't know. I don't have a direct line to everyone who's involved. It's kind of like you receive a message and you go where you're told to go, and people are there, and you
Let's
do
see
what
what
you're
other
doing.
stories. I just want to keep going on the stories here so we can unload our arsenal.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep up with
Okay.
support from
Yeah.
the users too here. So,
Okay.
all right. So here's the story that you shared, which is kind of interesting. Iceland's minister for children quits after admitting she had essentially a baby with a child.
With a teenager.
Which
I
is
don't
a
know.
child, in my opinion.
It's just a great headline. It's got all the elements. It's got the woman, the leftist, the foreign country, the children, the baby. It's got in that one headline, it explains everything. I just wanted to get that out there. What else you got in the hopper there? That's a good one.
Well,
Trump.
we could talk about
Oh yeah, we
Hunter and
wanted to talk about
Ashley
this,
going to have to
Eric.
be coming
Yeah.
home.
Yeah, Trump. I believe that, and this is from people in show business have told me this. It is extremely expensive to go to do a film or anything in South Africa because you have to bring your own private security force, and that could cost you $50,000 a week, close to $100,000, $150,000 a month. They'll bring in people from LA to go with them because nobody there can be protected because it's a lawless, insane country. Having his Secret Service stripped while in South Africa operates on so many levels for Trump. I have to give him incredible street cred for this. It immediately ends his vacation in South Africa. He does not have the money to pay for the security force to come and protect him and his wife, who is South African. They live in Hollywood. She's a failed documentary filmmaker, and they were going home to see her family, from what I understand, with this Secret Service thing that was costing a fortune. But it really drove a stake into his heart, didn't it, Eric? Because it takes away something that is not a luxury in South Africa and forces you to either leave, which I think he probably did, or hire a security force from outside, from the United States to guard you in South Africa for an enormous amount of money that he told our friend in court he did not have.
Actually, on that note, our friend is part of the reason that this even came up, it appears.
Yeah.
Garrett, we're just getting word that President Trump has revoked Secret Service protection for Hunter Biden. Your reaction?
That is breaking news. Well, it is fascinating that this all started, and I have some more news for you, Mr. Gates. The pictures that have surfaced of Hunter, those were a result of our law firm retaining a private investigator in Cape Town and taking those photos. Because why?
Wow.
We are going to be submitting those photos in our motion for reimbursement of a.
I just want to point that out because he had the PI that took the pictures that got their thing revoked and that was smart as shit because it's like, hey, look at this. He's partying down. He's got all kinds of money. Pay us, paying our legal bills.
That's great.
So that was smooth.
He's a very sharp guy. We got to have him back on the show. He's very, very sharp. And I think his uncle or great cousin, Ron Ziegler, was the press secretary for Richard Nixon.
Yes, he did say that. I don't remember who it was, but it was like, wait, what? Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. I saw this one. It's it's Monday, so that's close enough. Minnesota and the Republicans in Minnesota are introducing a bill defining Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness. And I think it's actually time. And we have a cousin called EDS now, and it's not a erectile dysfunction, it's Elon.
Right.
Derangement syndrome.
I mean, it's obviously a stunt because it has to go into the DMS 12 or whatever the diagnostic manual. They're numbered over the years. I don't know if they're up to 7 or 8 or whatever. But
I think they're only 5 or 6.
Right. Okay. I said 12. I'm exaggerating, but they put new illnesses, mental illnesses in there all the time. It's not far-fetched at all. I don't know how a minority party in Minnesota is going to get it into the DMS book, but it's a step in the right direction, Eric.
I like that it's even being talked about, though. I think sometimes putting stuff out there, even if it's a failed bill,
Yeah.
it's putting it in people's mind and it's starting the conversation, because now you're saying, oh, that's bullshit. Oh, how's it bullshit? Tell me how it's not true.
I
Well, it's
agree.
not true because, and then now we're talking about it.
It's
And
part of the
that,
culture. It's part of the culture war.
yep. And we should, every other state should introduce it as well.
Oh,
Have 50 bills that do that.
I like that. How about a House resolution?
Why not?
I like
Even
that.
if they die, just keep doing it, doing it, doing it. And you know what? It'll make them more deranged. So it's got an ancillary effect.
Yeah, it's got built-in payoffs.
100%. 100%. And speaking of Trump derangement syndrome, do you remember the band Semisonic? And it's funny because you mentioned. Oh, there we go. Okay. Remember how we were talking about a band earlier? And I'm not going to name them because you saw them on the plane or something.
Oh,
and I was saying,
I can say. I'll just tell
you.
you.
The fairground circuit.
I was sitting next to some guy I thought I knew. Among them, I was on the plane coming from Dallas to here. And you ever see somebody you think you know, but you can't remember them? You know what I mean? You kind of look, oh, is that the guy? You don't want to be rude and say, like, the typical thing is, don't I know you, right? So I kind of pinned these guys as musicians because they were, you could just tell. And I'm sitting next to one and the other one's sitting over here. And then I realized it's my old friend, Nick Hexum of 311. And we go hug each other and, it's a whole kumbaya. I hadn't seen Nick in a long time. And they were going to a gig or whatever it was. But, sometimes you're just sitting next to someone and it's a band. It's been around for a long time. I was talking to Eric about the band beforehand. So maybe it helps play into this story.
Right. Well, I was talking about, and I didn't mean it cruelly, but every band has an arc where, the bands are bigger. And then later on I said fairground circuit. And I think you said they were going on a cruise ship. So
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing.
Which is similar.
Yeah.
Anyway, well,
but
there's a band.
A gig. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's got 5 kids and a wife.
Oh,
and
no, that's fine. Yeah. 100%. But what I'm saying is that they're not on the tip of the tongue and they're not making headlines. Well, there's another band like that called Semisonic. And Semisonic apparently is out of Minnesota, according to the chat. So that's a better segue. I wish I knew that.
Yeah.
And they had one song that people know called Closing Time.
Okay.
And well, the White House, when they were showing the migrants, we'll say criminals, that were being flown to El Salvador, on social media released the video of that with the song Closing Time playing in the background, and they're mad. Don't use our song.
Happen.
Anyway, I just think it's hilarious.
I mean, it's between me and you. How many times during the Trump campaign, and I mean both campaigns over 8 years, has somebody said, "Dude, stop using my song. I am Monkey Boy of the 12 Bars of Monkey," or whatever the thing. I mean, I'm Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Stop. I am Run DMC. Stop it.
Jack White.
I am Jack White. Fill in the blank. The only ones who didn't do it and made a fortune were the Village People.
Well, but here's the part that's funny. They're full of shit.
Yeah.
For example, because of campaign songs being used in the past, the campaigns license the songs. There are catalogs out there, and those catalogs say, "Oh, you want to use the song for your event? Fine, you pay us X amount of money, and you got the song." So they license the song, and then the artist goes, "How dare you?" Well, you don't have a say.
No.
All you could do is complain about. We didn't give you. No, you didn't. You gave the rights to license it. It's kind of like if somebody buys a product off the shelf that you sell at a grocery store, tough shit. Because you put the product out there, people bought it, get over yourselves. But it gives them relevance for a second.
All right. Good point.
All right. This one is an important story. I had it queued up for when it was going to happen, but it already did happen, and that's wonderful. Finally brought the damn astronauts home.
Oh my God!
And
What a great story! What a great warm human. I mean, when that capsule crashed down in the ocean and those
and the
dolphins
dolphins.
was swimming around it, somebody said that the dolphins think it's a bigger dolphin, which is pretty funny. But I mean, what a magical moment to have those two astronauts come out of that capsule. It reminded me of the old days, of Apollo 13 and stuff like that. But holy crap. And also, we talked about the landing of the bottom of the rocket on its own tripod when it came down separately. But there was a quote from Musk that it would land, and I think it was like 5:57 p.m., and it landed exactly, hit the ocean at 5:57 p.m. to the second. Musk told him the exact time it was going to hit the ocean.
Oh yeah, I would not. Don't get in an argument with him about timing or engineering or
No,
math.
and also Putin and his people met with Musk about the joint trip to Mars now. So we're getting into
Mm.
the reduction of the tensions with the Russian Federation. And a lot of it's through space cooperation, ping pong, music, whatever you want to make it happen. It's a way to tone down war and disturbances around the world.
Well, by the way, the people who replaced them in the International Space Station, one was Russian
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
another
yeah.
was Japanese.
Yeah.
So, and Russia, they're always involved with anything space up there. We work together quite a lot, I think,
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of space there. All right, you know what? We have a pile of super chats.
Well, let
We
it
have to
roll,
go through
baby.
those.
Let it roll.
All right. Well, Al Gonzalez, you asked him.
Yeah.
So Al Gonzalez came in with a super chat saying it's straight up RICO activity that the FBI should be on top of the Bureau is infested at all membership levels by a subculture of hardcore dim loyalists. Patel better get wise quick. Well, that's why he has a hotline to the government and asks for other people to protect him.
Yeah.
So
Good
I
point.
think that
Good point, Al. I mean, you could pick off a couple of perps, but the later, bigger charges could be under the RICO statute that it's organized a criminal conspiracy.
yeah, Michael Hebner with a $10 super sticker. Thank you. John Lucan is a new member, and I think he was a previous member. So I think
Guy's
he's
a new member every week.
Yep.
He goes out and he gets drunk. He forgot that he became a member, becomes a member again, or there's chicanery on the part of YouTube.
Yeah, it could always be that. So Janet S saying, I'm glad Tim Pool finally had you on because there's too many people commenting on the topic. They have not spent any time investigating. Get used to it. Get
No,
used to it.
to his credit, whoever booked us, to his credit, he did not let us down, and he allowed the conversation to be at an intelligent level, for a long, extended period of time. So kudos to Tim Pool for bringing us on.
Yeah, almost a full first hour was JFK
Yeah.
oriented.
Yeah.
Mike Schaefer with a $10 super sticker. Cool. Got Binbo. JFK files were solved by Ben Iverson. Ben Gurion and Angleton did it for nukes. Her next guest was on. Yeah, we know that Kim Iverson is no lover of Israel, and she's one of those that, and we're going to see a lot of that, a whole lot of that.
Whatever the subject is, it says insert word here. Insert word here.
Let's see. Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. So he became a member again and gifted memberships. So that's a way you
That's
do it.
weird. That's a weird one.
I appreciate it, though. Mike Schaefer, you outperformed today on Tim Pool. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Schaefer, the beer to have when you're having more than one.
All right. 556 Pew Pew gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Great to see you, Pew Pew. And Dick Dickerson's back again with 20
So
America's Untold Stories
Dickerson.
membership.
What are you doing back here, Dickerson? Thanks, bro.
Yep. And Diffuse 56 gifted 5 America's Untold Stories memberships. So thank you very much. Colonel Lansdale's here. Asked Vito Corleone about the judges. He knew.
it is true. I mean, at some point, something's got to give. It's either their country, the judges, or it's our elected country. I mean, I don't know. You can't go to a judge to decide it once you get past the Supreme Court, but we haven't gotten there yet. So let's see what happens with the Supremes.
I agree, and I think that's why he's front loading it to where there's such a swell of them, and they're similar. Kevin Patrick, Trump just needs to announce he's creating 4 more Supreme Court seats because they're so overworked they can't get lower courts to follow the Constitution.
Look, he may have to do what they suggested and threatened that they were going to do. He may have to take. Yeah.
I'd hate to see that, but anyway, hopefully they do the right thing because they're under threat. Apparently, more documents were released today. Okay, we'll see. Well, they should be getting close to the end because, I mean, we're at over 70,000.
Really
he said 80,000 pages.
Yeah, I don't think people understand the physics of how long this is going to take.
I don't think
it takes
they do.
months and months to go through the documents. I'm sorry but that's just the way it is. I wish there was a shortcut. What's that?
You're not done yet?
I'm not done yet. I mean, it becomes like a side thing where you go through a couple of hundred and then go to the bathroom and then go through a couple of hundred, make dinner, go through a couple of hundred, watch the news. You just keep going. You just keep going. And I print out the ones that I want or download the ones I want to look at later. So because I don't want to stop looking. So I download, and if it's really important, I'll print it out right away.
Well, and by the way, it's good to download them anyway. Now, something was floating around X, and I grabbed them or whatever. That there were 75 documents that disappeared, and then they reappeared. Now, it could be a glitch on the upload. It might not be a big deal, but I was like, okay, and downloaded them separately.
People are really, I don't mean about you, but I'm saying people are really grasping at straws. Not this case, but I'm saying in general, there are some of the documents they go, here it is. I'm like, here, what is? I'm reading it. I'm going, yeah. Luna put one out today that Morley had found about, just says what they did internally, after the Kennedy assassination regarding the Cubans. And a guy who's commenting, it's his report. He's commenting about the investigation into Cuban involvement in the assassination. When you drill down into the report, he says personally, I wasn't there the day Kennedy was killed, and neither was I there for quite a while afterwards because I was suspended for financial reasons about my account by the CIA. The guy himself says he was under suspension for chicanery with his own financial operation, and he's an employee. The guy's an employee. So I'm going, yeah, this is the guy I'm gonna die on this hill with.
Wow, amazing. Let's see, Nora K's a new member. K-Dog, the left's new battle cry, drill, baby, drill. Okay, I haven't heard them say that yet. Colonel Lansdale, there can be no solution to corrupt government that comes from corrupt government itself or complicity with it. This is the Star Chamber all over again. Except the Star Chamber was in secret and making decisions.
Well, it may be in secret if Mark Elias is cherry picking judges and calling them on the phone about specific issues and setting them up for their quid pro quo. I mean, it could be super organized. We don't know.
Well, that's true.
But again, where is the fucking NSA? Why don't we know how to use the tools that have been used against us? Are these people mentally retarded? You're telling me
I think it's a matter of getting control.
I'm saying you can't get into Mark Elias's communication system?
Again, like Gonzalez said, it is infiltrated and entrenched with like-minded people. So first you have to get a control of the machine, then you can point the machine. So I understand some of it is a challenge in that regard. Let me see. Nora K. In honor of the 7th president, I voted for Donald Trump because of this show. Well, thank you.
Who
Thank you
was the
very
seventh
much.
president?
That's a good one because I'm like,
Zachary Taylor. I just
no, I don't know. I don't have them down to.
Zachary.
No, Jackson. Is it Jackson? It might be Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
Hold on. President Andrew Jackson. Duh. Okay. So that makes sense because we were talking about that. Let me see. Well, I'm so much more super chats, but I'm going to share this one. I don't know if you saw this, but those who think Alec Baldwin's living large, this is what he goes home to.
There,
It's gonna be great.
This,
You're a winner.
Oh my God! When I'm talking, you're not talking.
Sorry.
No, when I'm talking, you're not talking. This is why. Yes, we'll have to like just cut him out of the show.
It's gonna be great.
That look
Wow.
he gave
Wow.
right there.
Dude,
That's
I
like
feel sorry for him. Man. He deserves it, but I feel sorry anyway. I mean, nobody deserves it more than him. Let's face it. But that is, I got a feeling you're right. That really is the world behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could not imagine being, talked to that way at all. And hold on, that's not the only thing. This is just one appearance.
Oh my God! You're distracting me right now.
Sorry.
Like now, you're just doing that. Why? Why are you distracting me?
I'm just captivated by your beauty.
You're just distracting me.
You're so
No, but
beautiful.
oh my God! Stop! You're annoying me. Stop! It's not cute. No, he's distracting me.
I can't watch. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, it makes me annoyed to feel bad. It's like I shouldn't have to feel bad for the guy, but oh my God! But I'm kind of going, oh, that's what karma looks like. That's what bad life choices look like. I see Nick Juicy with $10. I really hope Trump goes full Andrew Jackson on these judges. They definitely need a reality check and need to stay in their lane. Looking forward to the Mark Lane episode. It's a great job,
That's
guys.
a lane.
Good job on that
That's a good lane.
segue in that super chat there.
I like that.
Yeah. Paul Henry, trusting CIA is like the boy who cried wolf. I agree. $5 from Lee H. Thank you very much. Jim tells you Trump should first do what Jefferson did and dissolve the courts that were stacked against him by prior administration. If that doesn't work, then he can follow in the footsteps of Lincoln and start arresting those rogue judges.
Right. I mean, the reason they were calling him a dictator and a king was in anticipation of their move of their judges that they were going to do this. This is not grassroots stuff on their part. This is well orchestrated. That's why the king and the dictator speeches were coming about a month before they started this judicial rebellion. So now, if he cracks down on them, they're going to say, "We told you." There is nobody who's a king and he's a dictator, and it's going to reinforce their narrative. Whether you buy into it, of course you won't as an audience, but their audience will. In fact,
right,
they're having one of their rallies. They're doing rallies now in Arizona today with Bernie Sanders and AOC calling it an oligarchy tour.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, you could, considering who you're talking about, you could just call it the communist tour.
Right.
Just to change your reframe. There you go. It's communist touring the country. Good to see. Speaking of TDS and the harm it can cause, apparently Lawrence O'Donnell, even though he survived the cuts at MSNBC, having to take some time off because it's just too exhausting dealing with Trump. So everybody pull out a tissue for Lawrence O'Donnell because he's having a very bad time of it.
Yeah, I think he checked into rehab. There's only one rehab that I know of, and I don't mean one particular rehab. There's only rehab for drugs and alcohol. Anyone who's going to rehab for all this other bullshit, it's a PR firm that's spent, and with the celebrities out in Hollywood, they strain to come up with narratives, listen to me, as to why you're going to rehab other than drugs and alcohol. They're paid a lot of money to come up with these narratives to avoid the drugs and alcohol narrative. I've worked in rehabs. I've run rehabs. I've never had a patient check in who is not in there for drugs and alcohol.
I don't know. I don't know where that gets anybody anywhere, but okay, that's fine. All right. I had this headline saved. I just thought it was funny. Okay, Canada. They're very upset about the trade war, and they're trying to come up with ways to make things even and make us pay. So some brilliant people in Canada came up with this concept. They will ban Pornhub in the United States to that's going to stop it. I'm here thinking, I'm like, do you know how pleased conservatives will be?
That'll bring a lot of women to their knees. That's a good tool.
Right. Also, it's like the entire conservative movement would be like, oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. But maybe our kids don't have to watch that.
Yeah. That's funny. What a weird, weak threat that is.
It's called a self-own, I think, in many ways. Let me see. Look at this. Dana Roche gave us $50.
Thank you.
Which is very, very kind. Thank you very much. Dick Dickerson said, do you believe we're heading to a year of lead like Italy? Same CIA funding?
Yeah, possibly. I mean,
I hope not.
We predicted, or at least I predicted, violence in the streets when Trump got elected. And now we've got violence in the streets when Trump got elected. So who knows where this is going to go? Or you could say it's from a particular cause, but nevertheless, we have fire bombings in the streets of America.
The one thing that I feel a little bit better about, though, is fortunately, our side is the one who has the guns. The people who are violent tend to hate guns. So Molotov cocktails they're bad.
Because these trannies are armed to the teeth. If you read what Andy Ngo is talking about and Jason Rance up there, they have come to these things with automatic weapons. So nothing's worse than a stressed out tranny with an AR-15, bro.
Fair enough. Of course, as we learned from Tim Pool, we can't say that word either.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, maybe it's just, I said what our words were, and they didn't apply to his show, apparently.
Maybe. Well, I think we have more words. His show's bigger.
Yeah.
David Klein said, people think Israel and Mossad responded, some due to the FARA Act. I just don't see it. Your thoughts? The
What's
whole
the question?
Israel thing is recent.
It's 5 minutes ago. It's not in any book. It's not anywhere in the literature. Yeah.
Let me see. Desert Tortoise, great job on Tim Pool. Thank you. Ginny's getting inky with it. It's like the artists don't know what was on the contracts they signed, or betting the public and not knowing there were artists which would love Trump and use their music. Wish they would use those. As you can see, we are on a limited bandwidth, and Mark has no video, and I don't hear him talking, so I'm guessing Mark has.
No, I mean, I'm here, but I mean, we've done 2 hours. I think we're about done due to technology, Eric.
All right, well, let me go through these last 5 or 6 super chats. I definitely want to cover them. But and yeah, I know your phone battery's probably dying.
It's not the battery. It's just the bandwidth. Yeah, it's just the bandwidth.
Yeah. Can you explain why one of the JFK files mentions the Jews? I already heard why people are jumping in like idiots. At least one of them's a forgery, I believe.
That one, Anyone that mentions the Jews is a forgery. I've never seen the word Jew ever mentioned in 10,000 documents.
Specifically the word Jew, which is odd.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that in any document that I've ever read over 35 years.
Let me see. Big Bill 767. Great show, guys. Barty Matt, appreciate your work. Been looking forward to this. Thank you. Life of Brian, FDR's judges cared about the integrity of the court. The current bunch of judges or batch judges are judicial terrorists. They don't care. Roberts will likely fail. I hope so.
I hope so.
And let me see. Al Gonzalez says, have many downplayed Bonnie Ray Williams' testimony that he was eating his bony chicken lunch by the 6th-floor window at 12:20. To me, it's a linchpin.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of many
I can see that.
linchpins. It's one of many. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it's one of many linchpins, but it's funny because when you read the testimony of these people, they have their FBI reports read back to them, and every one of them says, I never said that to the FBI. And that includes women, that includes the so-called 3 Negroes, quote unquote, on the 5th floor. All of them claim, and it's true, that they never said what's in the report, and they contradict it in their testimony to the Warren Commission. And that's in the report. That's in the Warren Commission.
Wow. Now, Mark, okay, I got to stop the presses for this one. A Rumble rant came in from Red Dragonfly 222 for $200, which I think is maybe the biggest I'm pretty sure the biggest Rumble rant we've ever gotten, but it's way up there. And it's thanks, Eric and Mark. Love all that you do. Your friend. That is incredibly generous.
That's a good friend, whoever he is. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
He's our secret friend.
Absolutely. Paul Rose 76 said on March 20th, 2025, the DOJ announced the arrest of Lucy Gray Nelson, Daniel Brendan Kent Clark, founder, and Adam Matthew Lansky in connection with a alleged plot to sabotage Tesla's Gigafactory.
Okay, so these are the 3, and it's a conspiracy to destroy property, which I think they're going to charge them with conspiracy. Okay, so these are the 3 names then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul Rose also said if they declare TDS a mental disease, does that mean a majority of the state can go on disability?
That's funny.
That's funny.
That's funny. And then how much does Pfizer charge for the new medication that's going to be in a vaccine to treat TDS? This may open an entire wing for big pharma. I mean, RFK Jr. may have to allow the vaccine to go through just to inoculate the people with this incredible disease. And then we're going to have to get someone like Conan O'Brien to host like a weekend telethon for TDS.
That would be funny.
Could be on TBS. In fact, isn't that his station, TBS, Conan O'Brien?
It was. I think that his show's off it now.
Okay. Well, he should be the
done.
permanent. He should be the permanent host of the Oscars.
No, he should just take over late night. There's some hosts that could be replaced by him.
That's a great idea too. I guarantee you that was a tryout by ABC to replace Jimmy Kimmel. Guarantee you, bro.
Please.
Guarantee you.
I don't know.
ABC, and they own the Oscars.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, but Steve Carell could be replaced too. I don't know who's more
No.
insufferable.
They'll all do their different replacements when either their contracts end to avoid controversy or when there's a moment of silence where they can pull it off. But I think Conan may go to ABC.
Okay. By the way, we've got to stop the presses again. Alan, AG Main 5082, had to Bigfoot and donate a $300 Rumble.
I'm getting sick and tired of this, Alan. You're up there in Poughkeepsie acting like a big tough shot. Get on the train and come to Vegas through Chicago.
No kidding.
I hope you come down so I can see you, bro. Thank you so much. That's great.
Yeah, he said, this is bigger. Do you see this? Yes, it's hard to miss, man. Thank you very much. T. Gaggiotti said, I trust
Hunley and
locals.
I just went shopping at the 7-Eleven where Hunley bought the fried chicken or something, whatever the food of the day was, and I grabbed what other crap I could buy here in this godforsaken town. So it's really appreciated, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, Mark can confirm. This is how I live. I do not live large.
No.
I'm not-
Hunley operates like Hunley represents the working man, the average man. He is the man of the people. I obviously work for Mossad, so I've infiltrated behind enemy lines. But Hunley is what Hunley is. That's just what you're seeing is what you get, folks.
You say T. Gaggiotti said, I trust locals will be fixed by tomorrow night. Else there will be big problems, Eric. Yeah, I don't know what went down with that. So
I don't know why I don't have a camera, but at least somebody can hear me.
yeah, I know. It's like
What's the deal? I mean, how do you explain this now? What does this have to do with anything?
We have new people discovering us from Tim Pool, so let's see if we have screwed up technology, like locals dying and whatever. Of course.
Yeah,
Isn't
Viva
that
had
how it
all
works?
kinds of problems with it the other day with his Rumble studio, different things. He's pushing buttons like it was going out of style.
Normally, those in StreamYard, which is so much more solid. I think there's a problem with, you know what, it probably is tied in with some of what Rumble's doing, though, because local servers are tied into Rumble
Maybe they're blocking
servers.
them. Maybe they're cock blocking them.
Well, StreamYard doesn't get money off of that. Theirs is just showing stuff. Jenny's getting inky with it, said king/dictator rhetoric, similar to uptick in constitutional crisis, i.e., government branch conflicts the constitutional can't easily resolved. Seems like sending the field to negate it at some point to me. Yeah,
Well,
it's driving a
how many
narrative.
times have they used the phrase constitutional crisis in 8 years, Eric, on Rachel Maddow's show?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Okay, well, as that got through, we did get to 2 hours. For those who are watching, who came from locals, I'm sorry. I will be doing a grill stream on locals tomorrow. That's our local thing, and I should hopefully see you there. But we're running low on the technology.
Yeah, we run out of
at
gas
this point. So, everybody, thank you so much.
Out of Red
If you're
Bull.
new-
We run out of Gatorade. We run out of bandwidth.
By the way, that's what he got at 7-Eleven. Is he was like very disappointed in the selection of pick-me-up drinks at Tim Pool.
What was
So I
going
was
on
like,
there? They didn't even have a cup of coffee, for Christ's sakes.
no.
Dude, I mean, very strange operation.
Liquid death, but no coffee.
Right. No, they had no Red Bull. They had no anything.
Well, it's kind of like whatever skaters have, I guess.
You know what I think it is? Those kids who are the skaters have drank and used and eaten every single thing under the roof there. And I think he keeps it to a bare minimum because he's tired of feeding them.
It could be. He's got a big operation. I mean, a lot going on. And
what was the name of that guy who looked like a Hell's Angel who I shook hands with? That
it's
remember you told me he was a skateboard?
Yeah. He's the Fitch on Instagram. Okay, that guy's a fascinating character. I forgot his name. I have to look up, but he is a professional skateboarder. I mean, literally,
we know that, but he looks like a Hell's Angel.
Yes, he does. And he's a very interesting dude. When I first was on Tim Pool a couple of years ago, I was going back to the airport, and he was vaping in the front. I think high, and essentially I said something, he got interested, so he just like crawls over the seat and he's like sitting next to me. He's like, well, what is this here, look at my Instagram. And I'm just like, what like, just completely overwhelmed. A really nice guy and everything, but just a completely wild dude. I think he's partnering with Tim Pool, but he was also training Tim Pool. Tim Pool is a very legitimate skateboarder. I mean, he skateboards constantly, and even while we were waiting, you know how they have the fiddle sticks or whatever?
What's a
Tim
fiddle?
Pool has a skateboard that he was running on a little half ramp, just playing around.
Well, the half ramp is inside and outside, you know?
Oh, well, he's got multiple. He's got the outside ramp and inside ramp. Yeah, he's got majors. And inside, he has this like giant cliff going down into a ramp. And the guy told us that the first one who did it broke his pelvis.
Oh, that death ramp you're talking about?
Yeah. He said you could do that if you sign the waiver here. I'm like, I'm not even going to stand on the board and do an ollie. Are you high? But it is what it is.
Oh, it still doesn't work.
Yeah, we'll just yeah. There we go.
Well, it's funny because I just switched over to my laptop, and
I saw you down below, but it caused.
No, but I'm saying it was a different camera, and it still didn't go through. In other words, I went to the StreamYard on my laptop, and I still no camera though.
It is what it is. But you know what? We'll be back on Tuesday
What?
in our normal studio location, which is
Okay.
home, and we will be talking about the great Mark Lane.
Oh, that'll be fun. All right. Well, we'll
I
see
think so.
you next Tuesday. CUNT is our sign-off radio station at our station here, because it's all radio. There's no video. You know, I had the feeling of radio when I went in to do. We went in to do Tim Pool. It was like doing early morning shock jock radio. The space itself felt like you were going in to do a radio show. Which I've done a bunch of those, early morning stuff, which comics do. You know what I mean? That was the vibe I got.
All right. Well, we will see you next Tuesday.